Koach, Rose, and Sidel. You were working with one of the least pleasant parshiot in the Torah, and you emerged, both of you, with really important lessons for us in our own time. The right of every person to quality health care, and the need to bring outsiders back into the community. Both of you were concerned with the exclusion of the person with tzaraat from the rest of the people, recognizing, as you said, Rose, when we isolate people who aren't contagious out of fear, quote, it can leave that person feeling lonely, ashamed, and dehumanized. And this is the essence of both of your Divrei Torah, the desire to never exclude others, the desire to never shame others, the desire to never dehumanize others. Your Divrei Torah touch on one of the core concepts in Judaism, honoring human life, honoring the lives of our people and honoring the lives of other people. But before I say more about that, I want to point out that the Parsha talks about two sets of people who were isolated in ancient Israelite society. You mentioned this briefly, Sidel. The Metzorah, the person with the skin disease tzaraat, and women who just gave birth. Both groups were considered impure, which wasn't impure in the way that we understand it today, but it was a biblical category which signified danger. And the danger that both of these groups represented was residing in the liminal space, the gray area between life and death. Maternal and infant mortality were widespread, and the blood of childbirth represented that fragility and that liminality to our ancestors. Biblical scholar Frank Gorman says, quote, "The woman manifests the loss of life in the act of bringing forth a new life. It is the woman's location in this ambiguous state that generates her impurity. She holds together in her body the realm of life and the realm of death." Baruch Levine adds, by declaring the mother impure, meaning susceptible, the community sought to protect and shelter her. Now, there are other less feminist interpretations of the maternal and infant isolation after childbirth that we see in this parsha. And we know that as Judaism developed, as Jewish tradition developed, the status of impurity that was assigned to women was used by some authorities to deny women access to full equality. We know that. But all agree that it is something about blood and the nexus between life and death that causes fear, which causes isolation. The same with Metzorah, whose body is seen by the tradition as both living and dead. When Miriam is afflicted with this disease in the book of Numbers, Aaron asks Moses to pray for her so that their sister, quote, will not be as one dead. We can see that the Metzorah is required to act like a mourner, tearing their garment as if they're mourning their own death. This in-between state leads to fear, which leads to isolation. But as my teacher, Rabbi Dr. Tamara Eskenazi, teaches, after isolation, Leviticus also concentrates on reconnecting the persons who have been isolated and on bringing them back to the center. The more marginalized the ill person has been, the greater the effort to bring them back into the fold. Dr. Eskenazi points out that the ritual for bringing the Metzorah back into the community is the same ritual as the ordination of the high priest. She says that the Torah, quote, illustrates the tremendous investment in the social and religious reconnection and rehabilitation of persons formerly stigmatized and excluded. All of this, the anxiety about the liminal space between life and death, the isolation of the one who might be endangered or dangerous, and the tremendous effort to restore their belonging among the people reflect the paramount priority of our people, honoring and embracing life, the lives of our people and the lives of all people. This shows up in priests acting like mobile medical care units, traveling outside the camp to care for and bring back the Metzorah. It looks like visiting the sick to give them hope and love and life, as you taught us, Rose. And it looks like welcoming the stranger and not oppressing the stranger and treating the stranger as an equal, as you taught us, Sidel. That means bringing immigrants and refugees and diverse members of the Jewish community and new kids at school, anyone who might feel like an outsider, into the center of things, just as the priests did in the time of our ancestors. And it means to stand against all forms of exclusion and humiliation, and especially dehumanization. Now, I have given 19 sermons about the war since October 7th. And today, for the first time, I honestly cannot bring myself to give another one. I do not have words anymore. If you want to know what I have to say, they are all on the website. But today, your messages, Rose and Sidel, they return us to the central idea of the very first sermon I gave about the war. And this is the most important and enduring message we could possibly offer. In the face of all forms of dehumanization of Israelis, dehumanization of Palestinians, we stand for honoring life. Honoring, saving, protecting, healing, desperately returning home, please God, let it not be too late, all Israeli life. Honoring, saving, protecting, providing for the urgent and desperate needs, and restoring the dignity of innocent Palestinian life. We stand simply and directly beyond all of the many complexities for honoring life. This is also the central idea of the Exodus story, which is, of course, featured in Passover, our most defining holiday, which takes place 9 days from now. Pharaoh is the villain of that story because he devalues human life. Because he does not know us, he enslaves us and tries to kill us through harsh labor and then by killing our baby boys. All of the heroes in the story, God, who hears the cry of the oppressed Israelites, Shifra and Puah, the midwives who would not kill the babies, Yocheved, Moses' mother, who saves his life with a basket on the river, Miriam, Moses' sister, who saves his life by following that basket, Batia, Pharaoh's daughter, who adopts this slave child, Moses, who interrupts a taskmaster beating a slave. They are the heroes of this story because they hear and see the humanity in others and act to save human life. And year after year, we emerge from telling the Passover story recommitted to this central Jewish idea that our people's lives and all people's lives have inestimable value, that all lives deserve to be safe and all lives deserve to be free. May that, please God, be realized in our day. Shabbat Shalom.